some of the disagreements here, though. Alex, question number 19, or statement number 19. A man dating a transgender woman is not straight, to which you disagree. And then, Haley, you also disagree. And then, I'm sorry, your name again? Alana, sorry, you wrote in cursive, and it's been a minute. You also disagree. So the statement is
I also disagree.
You would disagree.
Yeah.
A man dating a transgender woman is not straight, to which you, and you all disagree. So to be clear, the other position would be, the view would be, it would be gay. That would not be straight, right?
No, I think it's
I kind of don't agree with my answer as well.
Oh, so you think...
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like...
So you think it would be straight?
Yeah, but...
Okay.
Wait, now I'm confused on the double negative.
Yeah, it's a double negative.
So
okay, here's the statement. A man dating a transgender woman is not straight, to which you disagree. So you think it is straight?
yes.
Okay. You think it is straight?
Absolutely.
Straight. You think it is straight?
Yeah,
And then you think it's straight too?
yeah, I do.
Okay. Why? Or how?
I think it's the attraction to the femininity, and that woman is saying she's a woman and is a woman on the inside.
Yeah, I guess before I have you guys
Yeah.
make the justifications, what is a woman?
Well, you could talk about gender versus sex, but I'm saying in terms of how somebody identifies, whether they get surgery or not, or take hormones or not, if they are presenting as a woman and decide to be a woman, I think they're a woman.
So a woman is, if you can make it a bit more succinct of a definition. Succinct? Succinct? I don't know, whatever.
Somebody who wants to be a woman. There's no other
So
way.
a woman is somebody who wants to be a woman.
I
Okay.
would
Yeah.
Here,
disagree.
we'll come back to it. I'll let everybody answer.
Someone with a natural vagina.
Okay, sure.
I think someone who is a woman is like, it's in their like head, like their soul. Sorry, like that they believe themselves are a woman. I think that's what makes a woman.
So a male could be a woman
Well,
If-
no, that would be a woman then.
if they think they're a woman.
Yes.
If you think you're a woman, you're a woman. Okay.
Yes.
I personally am very pro-trans rights. I
Okay.
think that if you identify as a woman, if you feel like you were born in the wrong body, you have every right to come out and say, I actually am a woman and I feel like a woman. It's a tale as old as time. I mean, we have people dating like back to cavemen who would identify differently if you look.
How would you know there was no means of written?
That is what my history teacher told me.
How would it? Wait,
I have no idea.
history would require some means of like a
I'm
written.
pretty sure they're talking about like the hieroglyphics.
There were
I'm
trans
assuming.
hieroglyphics.
I'm assuming.
Okay.
This is something I learned in my
sure.
human sexuality
I'll
class.
address that, but I'll let everybody answer before we come back to you.
Remind
What
me
is
of the question again.
what is a woman?
A woman is, so aesthetically, it's boobs, vagina. There's something about a woman, isn't there? But I have to say, I've been to Thailand, and some of the lady boys look more like women than the actual women. I have to be honest. They're,
Sure.
you know.
Wait, can you try to avoid
Sorry.
like banging on the table?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Go ahead. What about you?
I think a woman is like feminine energy, and I think even some guys have feminine energy, and like some women have masculine energy, and if you feel that you are a woman, then you can be one.
So if you feel okay, all right. Des, what about you?
Yeah, I feel like if you feel
Wait,
like
can, just a little closer to the mic.
I
Just
feel like if you feel like you're a woman, then you're a woman.
so if you feel like you're a woman, these are kind of circular definitions. Like if a cat is a cat because they're a cat, you know, you can't use the word in the definition. But so I guess a couple clarifying questions here. But before that, there's a chat coming through.
Ogle_glue.net donated $200. If Donald Trump identified as a woman tomorrow, would he or she be the first female president? Why or why not?
Okay, going around the table. If he identifies as a woman, would he be the first female president?
I say yes.
Yes. Okay.
No.
No. Okay.
I want to say yes.
If he's doing it in good faith, like he genuinely feels
Genuine
like that,
transition.
or she genuinely feels
Donald
like
Dina Trump. Dina
Yeah.
Trump. Dina
First-
Trump. Genuine.
first woman president.
First woman.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
I'd say no.
No. Okay. What about you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you guys be happy about like that being the first woman president, though?
No, just because of the things that he said about the LGBT.
Yeah,
Wait, why did you
And,
say
and
he?
about women.
Well, you
Yeah,
said
can
I think
you
that's
get
the last
you
thing
said
he's going to
he,
do.
so I was just
Oh shit, you're right.
yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
so,
repeating your statement.
I guess a couple.
but I guess she,
Sure.
what she's done.
A couple clarifying questions on this. Can a male become female?
Yes.
Well, just to be clear, I'm talking about sex, not gender. So, can a male become a female
In terms of chromosomes? Or
in
like
terms of their biology?
in terms of their chromosomes, no. In terms of their
In terms of
physical
their sex?
physical anatomy, yes.
So, just to be clear, you think a neo-vagina is the same as a vagina?
I've never seen one, but I would assume so.
You don't think there's like any anatomical differences? Like the tissue material is exactly the same, and like it's anatomically identical.
One's an open wound and one's a muscle.
I wouldn't know the difference. I've never seen a trans woman's
So, but just
vagina.
I guess like I
You've seen
know.
open wounds, right?
So I and me myself, I'm not like an expert in trans surgery, but like I have sort of just a kind of base level understanding of like kind of where we are at technologically, and my understanding is like you cannot recreate a vagina or a penis. Like it's not a one-to-one, just because like I don't think a hole is a vagina. Like maybe to you that's what a vagina is, but I think there's like other components to it.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can a male become a female?
Yes.
Okay. Your answer?
No, I do not.
Your answer?
Emotionally, mentally, and physically, yes.
Emotionally?
Genetically, I don't think
Wait,
so.
sorry, what?
Genetically, I don't think so, but
Genetically.
mentally,
Okay.
emotionally, physically, yes.
Can a male become a female?
I agree with what she just said.
That was my answer as well.
Yeah, I think that like obviously if you're going down to the genetics, you cannot recreate that. We're not there with science. I don't know if we ever will be. But as far as like, I don't know, I stand on what I said.
Okay.
I would agree with that as well.
Yeah.
So,
But you could become a woman if you had a very good surgeon.
yeah, but I'm not asking about gender. I'm kind of rejecting gender for
like
this.
if you
but
could just be a
I'm-
woman.
No, I'm talking about sex. Like, can you change your sex?
No, I guess not.
Okay. What about you?
No, not like scientifically, no, but like you can believe whoever, like, I don't know.
Okay. What about you?
I agree with her.
But like, just can you restate, like, just state your position
You
instead
can
of just
be
like,
who
I
you
agree.
want to be.
Yeah.
What's your position though, Des?
I feel like you can't really change genetics, but you can definitely change your appearance. And stuff.
Okay, you can. So, women to you, women, females, it's purely like it's you. You get fake titties. You wear a wig. You do your makeup. You're a woman. You're a female.
Do you feel like a woman on the inside? Like when you wake up, are you like, I am 100%? Like what if you woke up as a woman? You'd feel like a man, right?
Well, I
What
don't
would, your
even.
frame, what would the frame of reference be?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't have the experience
wave
of
my
like I
magic wand.
feel. There is no feeling like I feel like a man.
I feel like a leprechaun.
You are? Are you Irish, Andrew?
Falsify that claim. I feel like a leprechaun, therefore I'm a leprechaun. Can you falsify that? Can you falsify that how I feel about being a leprechaun? Can you falsify that?
Andrew, can you just explain falsify?
Like, can you prove me wrong that I don't feel like a leprechaun?
I believe that you
so
can be
you can
whoever
never
the hell you want to
prove
be.
wrong how a person claims they feel, but I have no point of reference for how a leprechaun would feel because I'm not a leprechaun. Just like I would have no point of reference for how a woman feels because I'm not a woman, right? It's not possible.
Sure. I mean, I know that I feel very confident within my gender, and if I were to wake up in a male body, like I guess I'll turn the question on me, I would probably transition. I feel like I'm a very feminine person.
Yeah. So just a few more questions on this, and I know Andrew probably wants to jump in. But just a few questions. You in your answer, you said well, if they feel like they're a woman, they think they're a woman, they're a woman. But what about, and I'm going to go ahead and grant that, like they can feel, I'm not trying to police how people feel. There's really no way to police like how people think and how they feel. There's no way to like exert control or power over that in any capacity. Not possible. But like externally, when it comes to their participation in society and the world, what about truth? Like when it comes to, I get that they can think that they're a woman, but they have a penis or whatever. I get that that's how they feel and how they think. But to what degree do I have to participate in their delusion?
I feel like I can't answer this because I'm not a transgender person. So it's kind of like, how do you know what a leprechaun feels
Well,
like?
I think...
Right? So like, I can't speak for those people. I think you can be whoever the hell you want to be.
Well, I wasn't asking you to speak. I wasn't asking you to speak for them. I was just engaging with your worldview. So to what degree must I or other people participate in what, like, their truth? And what if our truth is like, no, like males can't be females, men can't be women? That's our truth.
You can be whoever you want to be. I'm very much a person where like you can have your opinions, I can have mine, and we can sit down at a table and get along.
Sure, absolutely. But what about like the actual manifestations when it comes to like, do you think the position that I just stated of I don't believe that males can be females, do you think that that's transphobic?
I think you have to go into a little bit more detail, because are we talking about like their gender or their sex? You don't believe that people who are...
So, I mean, I reject gender, but yeah, both. I don't think men can become women. For the sake of the conversation, though, I'll actually grant it because it tends to make things a little easier. But no, I don't think you certainly can't change your sex. But like within your paradigm of like gender as a social construct, can you change your gender? I think gender is linked to sex. And since you can't change your sex, then by proxy, you can't change your gender. So I guess, do you think that that's transphobic?
To a certain degree, yeah.
Okay, so cool. So I guess here's where we're getting somewhere when it comes to what degree do I need to participate in what I view as a potential delusion. So you've labeled this as essentially like this could be a hate crime to
okay, I didn't
refuse.
say all that.
Okay, but like what if I refuse
I did not say all that.
What if I refuse to use somebody's pronouns? Like should I be like get in trouble and like
I mean, I think it's insensitive.
Sure.
Again, I think that
but okay. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I have a lot of transgender friends, and I've repeatedly been told if someone slips up and they use the wrong pronouns, but it was in good faith, they are not trying to be rude, I don't believe that that's transphobic. I believe if you are going after someone specifically because of how they identify, that absolutely is transphobic. It's racist to go after someone who's a specific race. Like,
yeah, but it's not about going after somebody. It would just be like, this is why can't we have a conversation about truth? Like, what is the actual truth of the matter?
You know, like it's their perspective.
Well, hold on. There is the truth. I don't believe in your truth, my truth.
Well, it's just you're just talking about the paradox of tolerance now, anyway, right? So when you say it's my truth and your truth, it's like, okay, well, my truth is not be tolerant. And your truth is that I should be tolerant. So then you say, well,
my truth
the only
is
thing that shouldn't be tolerated is
opinion.
intolerance, right? Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, should there be social repercussions if, like, somebody who doesn't believe that the male can become a female and is like, well, when it comes to pronouns, I attribute that to sex, not gender, because I don't buy into the gender framework. So this person, to me, is a male, ergo, he's a he, him.
Sure, I think that that's really unfortunate. Do I think
what do you mean? When you say it's unfortunate, what do you mean? That they believe that?
I think it's unfortunate that they're not willing to accept people for who they want to be. Yeah.
But what's to prevent somebody from saying like, oh, I think it's unfortunate that you won't actually you don't believe in truth.
I think it's fair enough.
Like objective truth.
I think it's fair enough to think something and have an opinion, but I think sometimes
that's not what we're debating, though.
So are you saying that there should be sorry, love.
It's okay.
Are you saying there should be physical repercussions, like Like,
What do
what
you
are you
mean?
what are you saying? Can you rephrase your question?
Well, so I mean, I was asking, you said it was transphobic, you object to transphobia, then should there be like social repercussions? Like, for example, in the school setting, let's say like a student is like, I don't believe in this, I'm not going to refer to this.
I'm not going to use the pronouns.
I'm not going to use the pronouns. Should like the student like get detention? Should there be like, if they continue to refuse, should they be like kicked out of school? What do you think?
I think that the trans suicide rates in the public, in the
It's fine, but
school system is mostly due to peer pressure and not being accepted, especially in like the Midwest.
yeah, but we can talk about we can talk
a
about.
really good argument for why you shouldn't be trans then.
No, because that person is expressing their truth. They should be able to be
Well, I
whoever
mean,
the hell they want
I guess
to be.
you really probably shouldn't express your truth if your truth is so horrible for you that you want to unalive yourself, right? Doesn't sound like
No,
a good
it's
thing
not
to
that they're
express.
unaliving themselves because they're trans. It's because they feel like they can't be accepted.
Yeah, but can I
That
get
is
an answer?
consistently
Yeah,
not
like
being, but here's the problem, right? Is like, yeah, they're not being accepted, so that seems like a really good showcase for why they shouldn't present themselves as trans. That seems like a really good showcase for that. So here's the thing: if it is the case that you think that they would still unalive themselves at the same rate because they're not being accepted, then how come they weren't doing it before they could come out as trans in the 20s and 30s? How come?
Sorry, rephrase.
Because when they kept that shit in the closet, somehow they didn't unalive themselves. So it seems like them presenting themselves as trans, thus
like
getting
this isn't
ridiculed from their
very
peers
productive.
because we don't believe the
Well-
shit that they're saying, leads to their unalivement.
Can I
Unalivement.
get an answer? I'll get you in just a sec. Can I get an answer to my question though? Should there be like repercussions
in the school
setting?
systems?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if like 16-year-olds like, I don't believe in this. These are like my personal values. I'm not going to insult this trans person. I'm not going to like bully them.
okay.
But I just refuse to refer to them by their preferred pronouns. If it's a male and they're a trans woman, I'm not going to call them she, her.
I feel like it's hard for me to speak to. I've never been in that situation. I
Well,
do
you-
know
Go ahead.
that like I don't know.
Tough one.
It's a
Well,
really tough one
you
because
did
I believe
kind
that
of say
everyone
that.
should have their own opinions, you know, and I
Okay.
believe that you are totally allowed to have your own opinions.
Yeah.
Right.
I think your opinion is harmless if it's not hurting someone else. Meaning, like, if that person isn't going after that trans person, if that
Absolutely.
person is purposely avoiding them
Sure.
to not hurt their feelings or like
yeah,
something
so-
like that,
so
I think that might be
What
okay.
if I purposely like walk around and just laugh at them? I'm like, ha ha ha!
Yeah, that's fucked up.
You're not a chick, dude. What if I do that? Should something happen to me then?
You're a piece of shit. I don't
Yeah,
think that
but
something
so
should
if
happen to
something
you, but
happens-
I think that would make you a piece of shit, personally.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, I get it. I get that you think it'd make me a piece of shit, but should something bad happen to me?
Yeah, there should be
What should
repercussions
happen?
because
Yeah, there.
Yeah, but what should happen? What should-
What should the repercussion be for me laughing at you for pretending to be like something you're not? What should the repercussion be?
I think that that's up to the school system, the severity of the situation.
Do you think
I
that
think
there
that
should
this
be?
is really like very, very generalized, and
But do you-
it's hard to speak on generalized.
Do you think there should be
topics.
like Andrew's not in school right now? Do you think there should be criminal penalties?
criminal penalties?
Yeah, like maybe it's you get a fine, like $300 fine if you don't, $200 fine if
I
you
feel
don't.
like I can't speak to this because I'm not in that person's shoes. I don't
who
have
cares?
the right
Yeah,
to
but
speak
don't
to
worry
this.
about that. Let's say you were like the dictator of the United States, and you could implement a rule, a fine that says, okay, on the first offense, you have to pay a $200 fine.
I would survey trans people to see how they feel.
Yeah, and let's say all trans people were in favor of the fine. Would you do it?
I would then. I mean, that's just not how that really.
You
works.
just- I
have
just
to go through
granted-
so many people. Like,
Well, okay, so let's,
Okay,
but
the vast majority of them.
the hypothetical scenario, let's say like 90% trans people were like, yeah, we should definitely find people that refuse to use our preferred pronouns. Would you then pass a law that fined people for doing so?
again, I believe that people are all entitled to their own opinions. That is something I believe. I also believe you should never be
Well, just yes or
malicious
no.
towards anyone.
Yes, so
Yeah.
yes or no.
I think that would
I
be
feel like I can't
malicious.
speak to this.
You're the dictator. You have total power to enact your worldview as it pertains to the law relating
In this
to this.
current moment, I do not have an answer for you. My apologies.
I mean, it kind of sounds like yes, you would.
No, I don't know. Don't put words in my mouth.
You know what? The fact that
don't
you
have an
won't,
answer.
the fact that you won't say no, like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, I'm not gonna like control people's speech in that way. And like,
I mean,
the extension,
I said,
like, what
that's
if?
the thing that's stopping me is like I believe everyone is entitled to their own opinion. So that is what's stopping.
Except if there's harm, and you're saying which you said.
Yes,
And
unless you're hurting
in your
people.
yes, in your worldview, refusing to use somebody's preferred pronouns, is that causing harm?
Again, like I said, trans people have told me in the past, it just varies. It really varies on the situation.
Grant. I'm going to go ahead and grant for the sake of this that it does cause harm. Should there then be penalties?
What kind of harm?
You said you related to this
Emotional. It hurts their feelings.
Well, let's use her example though. You referenced the unaliving rate is really high in the trans community.
Sure.
So yeah, that's the harm. They're unaliving themselves because people are refusing to acknowledge them as women.
I don't know if
So there's the
like,
harm.
you can monetize something like
Monetize.
that. Like you said, like a $300 fine. Like I don't know if I could say like.
Wait, but hold on. So like, if you like commit various crimes, it's not monetization. It's like, okay, if you illegally park, there's typically going to be a fine. There could eventually be, your car could get towed. More serious crimes, there's fines, there's imprisonment. I mean, perhaps like if you've misgendered somebody like 3-4 times, would you consider like imprisoning people? If they continue, they're just
I
like,
think
fuck your
imprisonment is
fines,
very-
I'm going to continue.
I don't know.
far.
That's a bit far. We're talking.
What if they
extremes here.
misgender 100 times? They refuse to follow the law, and you find them. You've tried to find them a bunch. Should they eventually, not the first time, not the second, but eventually far enough down the road, if they refuse to like, yes, this is a woman, should they eventually go to prison?
Again, I feel like I can't speak to this. I
No,
think
you're the
might have to
dictator.
Start.
I don't
Okay,
think
can
so.
you make someone else the dictator?
Can I answer?
Well, I'm exploring your worldview because you have a strong position on this.
Just ask you a really easy question that you can't speak to, that I think
Sure.
is a reasonable question to speak to?
Sure.
So let's say you have a trans friend, right? This is a M to F, male to female, right?
Sure.
And doesn't have a bottom surgery. You still consider this person to be a woman, right?
Yeah.
Right, what's that?
Yes.
Okay, so if their significant other, in this case, is also a male, right, and not trans, and says, I'm going to go home and suck my girlfriend's dick, do you consider him to be straight?
Yeah, sure. However they want to identify. Again, I am okay with complying with people's opinions, and people are allowed to have their.
I just want to get this right. Your friend says, I'm going to go home and suck my girlfriend's dick, and you think that person is straight, right?
And why is this a problem?
I just want
It's
to
not
make
a
sure
does it
that
affect
it's
other
correct
people?
that person is straight. Because as we all know,
I'm trying to
everyone
think.
always associates men sucking other men's penises with, being a heterosexual, as we all know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't decide that for that person. Are they identifying as straight, and are you asking me to
Sure.
argue against?
Yeah, they're identifying as straight.
Hell yeah, man. Be who you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Why
straight.
not?
I mean,
That's
straight
my
men
view.
always,
What's right,
always
what's
suck
wrong?
dick, right? I mean, that's what straight men are known for.
Did you had a question that you wanted to ask her?
It was about when you were talking about people in the closet. They
In the closet.
don't self-delete themselves. So like, why don't they stay in the closet?
Was
Well,
that
the peop-
gone? I don't
know.
recall.
It was,
No,
it was in the past.
I was posing that, not.
I forgot.
Oh,
Okay,
well,
that's
I
fine.
can just restate it.
Well, no. So what was your thing though? Just now you said, why does that matter?
Well, I mean, why?
Into the mic.
Why does it matter?
Because Andrew was asking about like, okay, so a guy says, I'm gonna go and S my girlfriend's penis, and you're like, well, why does that matter? But so I guess who are you guys to dictate to people who are heterosexual what is and what is not heterosexual in the way that you would probably just, at least in your worldview, justifiably find it offensive? Like, no, you actually aren't able to be homosexual. Like if we denied that, like what homosexuality was, you would like object to it. So, hold on. We're objecting to you dictating to us what heterosexuality is. And like you're trying to basically put on me And if we bring this to its furthest enough conclusion, is like, okay, if I refuse to date a trans woman because she's trans, this is transphobic, and then some people want to enforce punishments, whether that's through the government or whether that's like through social shaming. If I don't want to date a trans woman, if I don't want to date a woman who has a penis, I should be now subject to attack in some capacity. Do you see how this is potentially dangerous?
I missed that whole conversation.
yeah,
I don't think
you
having, I'm sorry, I went to the bathroom, but I don't think you having your stance personally on your preference in terms of like you wouldn't date a trans woman, I don't think that's transphobic.
Yeah, but there are people, I understand that that's not your position, but I'm being fairly, I mean, do you think if I don't want to date a trans woman because she's trans, do you think that that's transphobic?
No, I mean,
Do you think that that's transphobic? Yeah.
Everyone's allowed their own preference, aren't they?
Pansexual.
Into the mics, guys. But there are people who do advocate for this, and ultimately, it's just interesting, though. You're trying to dictate to us, like, what is straight and what isn't. And in aside from just like, okay, you guys doing a critique of heterosexuality, it's like, how about just a truth conversation? What is the truth? Okay, well, here, I'm going to let a couple chats come through. I know Andrew has some questions, but...
Chris donated $200. If you feel like you are a good singer, and you go to an American Idol audition and the professional judges says that you suck, then who is right? Your feelings or the professional judges?
Good question.
I think it's an opinion.
But still.
Do you want to weigh in on this? I saw you scampering back, so...
I think that those people probably have a more professional view of music. And so they're professionally trained. I partake in music, and I think that if you're trained, absolutely you can say like that person is specifically off key.
A
or
professional
out of tone,
opinion.
You know? Like I've been trained musically. I've been partnered with people who have not been. It's a skill. It's like riding a bike.
So are you saying basically like when it comes to music, essentially there are like actual things that you can point to, and like there's like a mathematical basis when it comes to music.
And
like
before we turn this, I am solely talking about music. Like if we're trying to turn this to any other subject, I'm just talking about music.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. But like I think when it comes to the discussion that we were having, it's actually on an even more basic level.
Oh Lord, I gotta pee, sir.
Okay, that's fine. I'll continue speaking. It's on a more basic level than music. It's your biological sex. This is something that you cannot change. Okay. I mean,
so pretty.
Well, this is actually pretty important fundamental questions because we're talking about dating.
Wait,
right?
just one quick sec. I'll have you come in right after this. I just gotta let these two come through.
Scott Bobble donated $200. Can we go around the table again to get a definition of what a woman is? This was avoided by these people originally. Give an answer, don't dance around it.
Well, I do think that they did give answers. I know you maybe weren't satisfied with said answers, but yeah. But Scott, thank you for the TTS, and then we have one more coming in from.
Dean Withers donated $199. Chair number 4, you are pursuing an obscenradency and cannot have a consistent view. You are failing your
I'll have to pull it back up.
Patience.
She's not at the table. My bad. I'll pull it back up though. Andrew, well, they're. I think they're in the bathroom debating whether they rage quit the show because this is a very.
These are like I understand that these are controversial topics, right? But the thing is you got to think about dating in the modern marketplace. We can't even decide on what women are. Right? Like, can't even decide on what women are. The battle of the sexes when it comes to how you adjust for a partner or something like this, it seems like it's a pretty pertinent question in modernity. You know, to be like, well, I have dating preferences and things like this, you know, but if you just kind of signal that men can be women, right? I think that it would make a lot of men very uncomfortable that women hold that view. I think it would necessarily. So I think that these are pretty pertinent to the dating questions, and for some reason people get really offended by this, even though you guys had the most degenerate talk possible just 2 hours ago. It's the most degenerate shit, talking about orgasms and this and that. But suddenly it's brought up whether or not, oh, can you go suck your girlfriend's dick? Is that straight? And suddenly it's like, oh, how can he say such a thing? It's like, where's the consistency here? You talk about every degenerate thing on planet Earth, but when we get to the meat, the brass tacks of what even it is we're talking about, suddenly people get offended. I think it's silly. But why not have the convo?
Yeah.
But I have a ton of great questions here. If you guys want to move the topics, I'm fine with it.
Well, I want to stick on it for a little bit, but I'm pretty much almost done. But the two kind of dissenters, the primary dissenters are gone. Although Alex, you were a dissenter on this, and then also
I was a dissenter?
Well, you think that a man dating a transgender, you think it's straight for a man to date a transgender woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'll engage with you while those other two are gone. So if you see two males nude engaging in intercourse and you don't know their gender identity, would you categorize the sex act as homosexual?
Two males? Well, who am I to tell them who's a male and who's a female?
They both have penises.
Who are you to tell people who murderers are? Who are you to say what a murderer is? Who are you? In fact, who the fuck are you to say anything, I guess?
Period.
You don't hold positions on anything.
Yes.
Like, who are you to tell me what your name is?
No, I'm just not really like a judgmental person.
Into the microphone.
Sorry, I would say I'm just not a judgmental person. I'm very open-minded.
Is that a judgment?
It's
Is
not
that
a judgment. Judgment.
Did you just make a judgment about how not judgmental you are? It's pretty judgy of you.
Okay, so
checkmate. Like, I'm confused.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, so I'll ask the question again. You see two males who are nude engaging in intercourse. You don't know their gender identity. Would you categorize the sex act as homosexual?
Sure, if I don't know any context.
Yeah, you don't know their gender identity.
But if somebody
wait, hold on.
Why do I always get cut
just
off?
Hold on, just hold on, because I'm adding some detail. Hold on. Host here. Host privileges. So, not knowing the context, you would categorize it in that way, correct?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. And so, if during that act that you had initially categorized as homosexual, if one of them shouted out and said, "Yo, Alex, BTW, I identify as a woman," would you then instantly change the categorization to heterosexual?
For me personally, yes.
Interesting how that works. Here's another question, though. So, how do I want to frame this? How do you define heterosexuality?
A male and a female gender-wise? Or heterosexuality?
Heterosexuality,
yeah. A male and a female. How people identify as their genders.
Right. So, but just to be clear, like, is a transgender woman female?
In my eyes, yes.
Wait, hold on. So for the sake of the conversation, I'm gonna go ahead and grant these girls over here. Oh, you're fucking what's that stuff they get on their hands or whatever? Not the tattoos. Henna. Yeah. Oh my God. So,
henna?
that's great. So. I'm trying to recall where I was at here. Can you guys not do the little sidebar thing that you guys are doing? So I'm trying to, can somebody jumpstart me a little bit? What was I just saying? Something about...
you were, but she made a miscategorization between gender and sex.
Yeah. So is a transgender woman female?
Yes.
Okay, so granting, I'm going to go ahead and grant...
Gender-wise, yes.
Female is not gender.
Gender would be man, woman.
There's man, woman, woman, gender, sex, female, male.
Okay.
So are transgender women female?
Okay, wait, hold on. Which one is sex and which one is gender?
Male, female.
Are you intentionally being obtuse? Or?
No.
We already just said it.
Because okay, whatever.
Okay,
I believe that...
Here, I'll explain it to you. Sex, male, female, gender, man, woman.
Okay, I believe that a trans woman is a woman.
Yeah. Are they female though?
By their sex, no.
Okay. Thank you.
But I said that from the beginning that their
Right. So
chromosomes are
Well, you-
technically.
Well, we understand, but when you were restating it, you're using the category to say, in my eyes, trans women are female,
Okay,
which is
sure.
giving us the sex category. So Brian was confused.
Thank you
obviously.
for clarifying because I was also confused.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to kind of remember here, like whose positions were what. Do you think that a transgender woman is female?
No, a transgender woman is a man.
I think they're female.
You think they're female? Okay. Do you think transgender women are female?
Oh, yes.
Do you think transgender women are female?
No.
Okay. Just can you explain to me how transgender women are female?
I actually rather not speak on that at the moment.
You is this what you guys
I'm just like slightly uncomfortable and I just don't
you're
you're
uncomfortable
it's just a
with?
really big topic and there's a lot of people watching and
You could talk about orgasms and dildos and everything else in this audience for like
Well,
audience for 2 hours ago, but suddenly we bring up
Did I ever
social
talk
issue
about an
with- hang on,
orgasm?
which affects calm down, which affects dating, and now suddenly you're like, oh my God, there's no possible way for me to engage in this topic because somebody might see it and it might hurt their feelings.
Can we get people like back at the table if y'all are done like using the bathroom and all that? Okay. I guess where I'm confused is like people. So to you, you think a transgender woman is a female. I'm prepared for the sake of the conversation. I'll go ahead and grant that transgender women are women. It's not my actual position, but I'll just grant it. But like sex is a much higher standard than gender. So you think transgender women are female? How do you come to that conclusion? Like, have they changed their chromosomes? Were they?
I mean, I feel like if you had the surgery, then it would make sense. Like, yes, they are female. Because, like, I mean, if you get a boob job and you don't have boobs, are they still boobs? Like,
Wait,
yes.
what?
Like,
So I would say that you mean like if a male gets breast implants,
No,
are they
no,
the
like-
same as like female breasts? No.
Because you weren't born with it and then you have them.
Yeah.
Does it mean that they are
Yeah,
still
like if
visible
you-
boobs?
But I were to
natu-
get huge boobs
like-
right now. Are they boobs still?
He's saying
Like, if I had
fake
fake boobs
chromosomes
in a-
versus gender.
Your breasts your boob is still there. Is it the same as having like if you get double D's through implants? Is it the same as natural double D's? No.
No.
Like would you?
well, no,
do you-
but they're still boobs.
That's facts, isn't it? It's facts.
yeah,
they're
that
not.
doesn't
Yes.
that doesn't map on.
Yeah. Actually, this would make Brian's point. You're absolutely right. Right? They would still be breasts. And those people would still be male.
I think
No,
the-
like those
So even if
people.
they got fake breasts, they would still be male.
No, not
Fake
if they
breasts.
get boobs. If they like get the sex change
You can't
into
change
a
your
coochie.
sex.
So then
Yes, you
tell me
can.
your
You're
sex.
still
What?
always
No.
going
Wait,
to be
Let
born
me
a
just ask you
man.
this. We'll just
That's-
see if this actually tracks logically
Okay.
at all. Okay, so you have trans people who get a bottom surgery, have penis removed, and then have a neo-vagina put in. You guys agree that this is a fact. This does happen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay? And you would consider that to now be a female, right?
I would.
Yes.
Now, let's say that a guy was driving down the street, a man, okay, and he got in a terrible car accident. He flew out the windshield, and it cut off his penis, right, and slashed perfectly a neo-vagina into him. Now, this just happens a freak accident, but freak things happen all the time. Why is that guy now not a female?
Because he doesn't identify as a woman. I feel like
Right,
that's
so
simple.
then the identification
It's
of
up to
woman,
person to
the
person.
gender is what we're talking about, but you can't change the sex, can you?
Yeah, I agree
You
with that.
cannot change your chromosomes scientifically. That has
Yeah.
already been gone over.